Avast ye scurvy dogs. I be Lupinefiasco. This be daily FaB gameplay, and today you're gonna walk the plank. I'm kidding, we're gonna play some Flesh and Blood. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the challengeshard.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I'll be talking through turn cycles and giving my thoughts on the lines I would take now, comparing them to the lines I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new upload daily FaB gameplay in your video feed. You can find a FaBery link to the decklist I'm playing here in the video description below. You'll also find a link to my Patreon. Subscribers at the Arc Lightning tier and higher will get access to my matchup guides for all my decks forever. Want to tighten and optimize your gameplay in real life? Use my affiliate link in the video description to buy your very own Codex journal, and be sure to use code LUPINE10, that's LUPINE10, at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Finally, daily FaB gameplay is brought to you in part by Hemel from The Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the Flesh and Blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. Pre-order High Seas set bundles and singles now. Pre-orders are available to ship internationally, and singles can be purchased in person at US Nationals in Vegas. Message Hemel on Blue Sky, Discord, email, or Twitter to see what he can do for you. Now, let's get ready to keelhaul some landlubbers. Playing into Slippy is going to be a really interesting matchup for a few reasons. One is I just haven't played this Cannon Marlynn into much disruption yet. Again, this is Brock's list. You can find it in the video description below. Super sweet Cannon build. Potentially getting disrupted is very bad for this deck, just because it needs so many cards to do the thing. It needs a Harpoon in the arsenal. It needs 2 blues to activate Hammerhead and shoot the Harpoon. If you haven't loaded Hammerhead, then Slippy has a lot of cards to show you that you don't hit with any of your Harpoons. King Kraken kind of does nothing in this unless Slippy has Orbweaver Spinneret or Codex of Frailty, Savor Bloodshed too. King Shark Harpoon is our best Harpoon against Slippy, but they'll have enough reactions that they don't need to show you an attack. Bluefin Harpoon is pretty worthless. Yellowfin Harpoon only hits Take Up the Mantle and Codex of Frailty. What I'm saying is we need to keep cards to do the thing, and Assassin is going to be really good at not letting us keep cards. So we lost the die roll and have to go first this game. We can use our Tipple line in order to get this ball rolling, maybe deal a point of damage, we'll see. But we use Marlynn, sacrifice our gold, make a Goldfin Harpoon, then send Tipple, and discard the Harpoon to make a gold and draw a card, and just see what we have. So at this point, we could load our Bluefin Harpoon. We could shoot it. Slippy puts 6 in front of it, and it doesn't matter. What I want to do is test Slippy's hand for reactions. I want to play 3 of a kind. We're going to draw a bunch of cards. We are going to Hammerhead, Gold-Plated Hook, King Kraken Harpoon. Again, we're not thinking that the King Kraken is actually going to take cards away from Slippy. For one thing, it doesn't matter anyway. Slippy will draw back up at the end of this turn, but for another, Slippy just doesn't have that many non-attack actions in the deck. But what we're doing is trying to push damage, because if we can catch Slippy with 4 attack actions in hand, then we get to push 7 points of overpower damage that Slippy can't block. We also get to activate Gold-Plated Hook for free, because we have made a gold this turn. So even if this doesn't hit, we are still going to get to keep the gold-plated hook, and this doesn't hit. Slippy just lucks out and has 3 reactions that can get around the overpower. Bad news for us. We get to arsenal a golden tipple and keep a blue in hand, draw into another 3 of a kind. So we should have something going, kind of regardless of what Slippy does, unless it's Bonds of Agony. I don't know that this is a snap non-block, but between 3 cards in hand, Flick Knives, and Black Tech Whisperers, I don't know that we can really stop Slippy from hitting us with this. What I do think we should do is block with 3 of a kind, just to get rid of it, so that if Slippy does have the reactions, they can't take it from us. We do have 1 copy left in the deck, and I wouldn't mind holding on to it. It is such a powerhouse. Slippy just having Take Up the Mantle plus Justinic, really bad for us. I guess thankfully they had to Flick Knives instead of having like a Razor's Edge. But we take a bunch of damage, and we lose our 3 of a kind from hand, as well as our remaining 3 of a kind from deck. So we're off to a bad start. We can go through our tipple line, make a harpoon, send the tipple, discard the harpoon, make a gold, draw a card. We are just going to load the bluefin harpoon. We'll have the resources to activate Hammerhead, shoot the harpoon for 8. Maybe Slippy has a hand with a blue in it, and we get to force them to block, and that was something that was going to pay for a clave or a CNC or something. We've made a gold with the tipple, so we get to activate gold-plated hook for free. And just see what Slippy has available to block with. Unlike our last attempt to deal overpower damage, Slippy cannot just put a bunch of reactions in front of this and still have a turn, so they will need to decide how they want to best manage blocking for value, keeping enough cards to disrupt us on their turn, trying to protect any potential blues. Slippy, of course, does not play a lot of blues. My personal list only has 10 in it. I think I've even gone down to 9 at this point. We've seen a Bonds of Agony and a Double Trouble pitched. But the fact that Slippy is giving us 2 cards and a Crown of Providence is really nice. We get hit by an Art of Desire body. Our deck is primarily blues, so I'm not super concerned about Slippy drawing from this. And if I'm looking at my hand, trying to decide what we actually do here, we can pitch Murderous Rabble, break gold, draw a card, load King Shark Harpoon. At a minimum, because we have Tunic up, we will be able to activate the harpoon, activate Hammerhead, and fire the harpoon for 10 overpower. We will not have made a gold during the turn, so gold-plated hook is a potential liability. Depending on what we draw, though, if it's a blue, then we get to pitch a blue, activate gold, load Hammerhead, load King Shark Harpoon, activate Hammerhead, play gold to tip, and then attack with King Shark Harpoon. And if we're sending 13 overpower, I feel a lot better about activating my hook. But we're not blocking here, is what I'm getting at. I am not super concerned that Slippy is going to take a blue from me, and in fact, they do not. And I'm very interested in cracking back for 13 overpower if I can. We draw into the blue, which is great, because now we get to play gold the tip, we get to activate Hammerhead, and we get to fire the King Shark Harpoon for 13 overpower if it hits. We assume that Slippy is going to have an attack action that we can take from their hand. So all that we're hoping for now is that they don't have a way to cover 13, and that does appear to be the case. Slippy had 4 attack actions in hand, in fact, so we push 10 points of damage, we make a gold from our gold-plated hook, and now we are also going to make a gold after taking one of these cards. What card do we want to take? I think the correct choice is Infect, because if Slippy has an attack reaction in Arsenal, it is unlikely that it is usable on any card that doesn't have Stealth. So if we take the Infect, Slippy is potentially stuck with this card in Arsenal, and that might make it difficult for them to get value out of a potential Codex. The hand that we draw into sucks. We have 4 reds, which is an absolute death sentence for this deck. So we need to decide how we're going to navigate this. We can definitely sink and try to turn one of these reds into a blue, but if that doesn't work, we kind of need to decide what our answer is. Now, what we could do here is just put 8 in front of this E-Strike, block with Conqueror, King Kraken, and Money Where Your Mouth Is, Arsenal a sink below, and have some protection for a later turn and just say, you know what, we're not pushing damage with this hand. We could block with our sink below and take 3 points of damage, turn probably Money Where Your Mouth Is into a new card, try to find a blue that lets us break gold if we wanted to load King Kraken Harpoon. More likely we're just pitching a blue and using our Tunic in order to send Conqueror for 7, and we arsenal the King Kraken Harpoon. Really weird choice. Same thing with our last Marlynn decision. As soon as you draw 4 reds in this deck, you want to die. So I think the call that I like is just putting 8 in front of the E-Strike, arsenaling a sink below, and saying, we'll try again next turn. But I do think we draw into a yellow, which is not exactly what we were looking for. And I think what we are supposed to do, it's such a difficult choice, because if we activate the gold, we pitch that all you got. If we draw into a blue, we get to Conqueror for 7, threaten Slippy's Arsenal. If we draw into a Harpoon, we can load the Harpoon, Tunic, Money Where Your Mouth Is, fire the Harpoon. Or we could just take the safe route and say pitch tag, Money Where Your Mouth Is, Tunic, Conqueror for 7, and I think that's what we're supposed to do, because if we draw into a red, then our turn is absolutely terrible, and it is unlikely that we draw into a red, but it is still possible. The fact that we've drawn into so many non-blues in a row is so unlikely for this deck, but when it happens, it is brutal. We were definitely supposed to send Conqueror there, and if we had, we would have been really far ahead. What is especially bad at this point is that we don't have a gold. So we can't actually play our tipple, we can't get the tipple thing going, which means that we are really going to be scrambling for the rest of this game. So that was a huge misplay on our last turn. It doesn't help that our deck just didn't give us anything, and you can even see that if we had been able to dig even further, we would have drawn into 2 more reds. Like, that's so unlikely in this deck, but it can happen, and it is just backbreaking. This is a mistake. We should not be blocking this Prognosis without, we should be blocking it with tag, but we should have put Gold-Plated Hook in front of it, because Arakni now can have any reaction. Razor's Edge, Shred, Tarantula Toxin, Take Up the Mantle, anything gets over the top of that all you got. That isn't true. Mantle does not. But we're paid off because we're God gamers. But that was just so unlikely to have happened. Interesting choice here. We do have the line of just sending Conqueror. Arakni is going to be arsenaling something. It depends on what that something is. If it's a defense reaction, then Conqueror is a terrible decision. If it is not a defense reaction, then Conqueror is great, especially if Arakni tries to protect whatever the card is. We have the life. I think we are in a position where we need to just start sending damage, just trying to make something happen and have some gold. We also get to activate Gold-Plated Hook and then send Conqueror, so we are likely to be able to make the gold. That gets us the gold we need to start making tipple plays happen. We can even send Conqueror number 1 after activating Hook. If it hits, we can break the chain and then make a Harpoon by activating Marlynn, play tipple, make another gold, draw a card. Depending on what we draw, we can Conqueror again. Shelter from the Storm from Arsenal, just terrible for us. It is nice that we got the card away from Slippy. They only have a 3-card hand to play with, but just really, really bad for us. We wanted them to need to commit to protecting that Arsenal in some way, and just the fact that it was playable in front of a Conqueror meant that they didn't have to. We even up the life totals a bit. We do have a gold to play with now, but We really wanted that shelter to be something else. We've got an Orb Weaver Spinneret. This will be followed by an Infect. This is a bit of a laggy turn from our opponent. The proper response to the Infect, at this point, because we have no more 3 of a kind, I feel a lot better giving up my Perch Grapplers. That is really when Perch Grappler shines, is when we can put a Harpoon in Arsenal and then draw 3 more cards and be able to send 2 Harpoons in a turn. But it needs to be done with our King Kraken Harpoon. Using the blue here to cover this damage is wrong. If we keep 2 blues and King Shark Harpoon in hand, then we get to pitch a blue, activate gold, draw a card, trigger Marlynn, load King Shark Harpoon, and then regardless of what color of card we draw, we will be able to Hammerhead. If we draw into another blue, or even a yellow, then we are totally fine for doing the Hammerhead King Shark line, and if we draw into a red, then we have our Tunic. We are going to take a risky play here and tap the gold-plated hook in order to potentially generate another gold. This is risky because if Arakni has a 3-power attack, a 3-power reaction, and a defense reaction, then we lose our hook. If Arakni has 2 3-power, 3-block reactions and an attack, they can give Tunic and Covered Up. I don't believe we were supposed to tap hook here. I think it is too risky with Arakni having 4 cards in hand. We haven't seen that many reactions out of them. They're just, and we've only seen 1 defense reaction. It is very likely that they have Sink Below and Shelter. A lot of Slippy lists do. But in fact, they do just have 2 reactions, so we lose our hook. And I think that we were not in a good position to make that play. So now we are in some real trouble, and it's going to be hard for us without a gold to get Harpoons into our arsenal, and it'll be hard without our hook to make gold. So how do we want to deal with this pain in the backside? I would like to block it. I believe the best way to deal with this now is going to be to block with our Redfin Harpoon. On our turn, we can Tunic into Golden Tipple, discarding Gold Tip to make a gold and draw a card. That will let us potentially do, we should have Tunicked here, 100%. This is wrong. So now we're going to send a Yellowfin Harpoon, which is way worse, but we should have used our Tunic to pay for the Tipple. I mean, this is fine because we still have a Tunic, but we limited our options for what our turn looked like, because if we don't draw a Yellowfin Harpoon there, then we just kind of do nothing. Our turn ends, basically. We arsenal a card and we're sad. The fact that we drew a Yellowfin Harpoon was really good for us. It doesn't help that Slippy had the Sink Below in order to cover up the damage, so another bit of bad luck for us. But this turn could have been much, much worse. Imagine if Slippy doesn't have the Sink here and does have a handful of 4 reds, which a Slippy is likely to have. We would have gotten 2 cards from them, or a card plus Flick Knives, and instead we have this Tunic, but like, whatever. We cover the Infect here for 3, which I think is correct. I want to make sure that I can get my gold. I also suspect that Slippy has something like Justinic, because why else are they sending a 1-power Infect, aside from converting cards? And I want to have at least blocked for 3. Instead, we've got a Prognosis coming in for 4, so we do get punished for having blocked with the Sunken Treasure, because I would love to have blocked with it here. What I can do instead, just trying to think about how to best threaten some damage. We're kind of scrambling at this point. Again, we don't have much equipment left. We do have some gold, but we're really just trying to put something together. I think the correct line here is block with 2 Sifts and then play Epot and pass, and just try to supplement the fact that we don't have an arsenal. We probably won't for a while. We also aren't pressuring our opponent. We draw into Conqueror, which is fine. We're sending 8 points of damage, but Slippy doesn't have an arsenal. So this is just damage. There's no on hit. I really think that keeping our Tunic, blocking with the 2 Sifts and then playing out an Epont is the best way to use this hand. It also means that we would have had a Conqueror in this hand, which would have been pretty cool. But we do at least have gold. We're not going to block this Double Trouble at all. We don't care about this. We have a Redfin Harpoon. We have a way to get it into our arsenal. We have the Sink Below in case we need to cover something with a more threatening on-hit than Double Trouble. If Arakni wants to use reactions in order to get this power up, we'll lose cards off the top of our deck. That's fine. We're not going to fatigue. Instead, Arakni is going to discard to their own Codex of Frailty. They grab Command and Conquer. We need to decide how we are going to block. I'm going to discard Sink Below to the Codex effect, and I can block the CNC with Loan Shark and Redfin Harpoon. So the question is, what do we want to be doing on our turn? And here's where things are really interesting. If we still had our Tunic and an Epont, because we had blocked with the 2 Sifts, we get to take King Shark Harpoon, cover the CNC with our 2/3 blocks, and we have the 6 resources that we need to Hammerhead King Shark. We're only sending 9 overpower, but that is lethal, and if Arakni draws a bad hand for blocking that, then they take damage. Even if they draw a good hand for blocking it, they have to give us 3 cards. So we are now punished for having taken a different line previously for playing more aggressively than we really should have. So what do we want to take? We can't take Boat. As much as we would like to take Conqueror, we are 1 resource off of being able to play it. We could take King Shark Harpoon, but it only attacks for 5. It won't have overpower, and it's pretty likely that Slippy can just block with some card they don't need and show us a reaction. We could take Tipple, which will let us turn a gold into a harpoon, into a gold and a card. But that just doesn't do a ton of damage. What we're really hoping for with that line is to rip a harpoon off the top of our deck that we get to load and fire. That seems kind of risky, and we're only pushing 6 damage compared to 5 that we would get by just taking King Shark Harpoon. It's 1 more point, but it potentially sends much less damage. If we send 2 go again and then don't draw Harpoon, then our turn kind of sucks. I think we are supposed to take King Shark Harpoon at this point. We are really supposed to be in a position where we can take King Shark Harpoon and then send it for 9 with overpower, but instead we don't get to do that. We are sending a much worse turn, but I believe the correct call here is King Shark Harpoon. Instead, we take the Tipple, we discard a Sink Below, we block the CNC for 6, and Arakni gets a Ponder. We are going to Marlynn this gold into a Harpoon. We are going to send Tipple for 2 go again because of the Frailty, and we are really hoping that we draw into something worthwhile, and we don't. We draw into a golden Tipple. At this point, we have some options. We can use our 2 floating resources to break our gold, dig for another Harpoon, which we would get to load with the Marlynn trigger and then attack with after pitching our blue golden Tipple. But I think that's pretty risky. We've had too many draws from our deck that just didn't work out. We're running a little short on Harpoons. We've seen, 2 King Kraken, 2 King Shark. We just don't really have anything left. I mean, we get a Sink Below for the Tipple, but I think here we just cut our losses. If we really wanted to, we could pitch our Tipple into Quiver of Abyssal Depths, put some good arrows back into our deck, but we're scrambling now. I don't want to say that I was on tilt at this point, but I'm definitely not making good decisions. We don't have a gold anymore. We do have a Loan Shark, so we can, assuming we live through the turn, we can play the Loan Shark, use Marlynn, make a Harpoon, play Tipple from Arsenal, bank a gold, look for a Harpoon. We're really not in a good way at this point. We are going to get flipped. There is a Kiss of Death on the combat chain, so we are effectively at 6. We want to block the Command and Conquer, which we can do with our 2 blues. Gold the tip only blocks for 2, and we need to keep Loan Shark in order to make gold. So we are priced into blocking with our 2 blues, which could very well screw up our cost curve on the coming turn. We are going to activate Marlynn, make a gold from the Harpoon. We are going to pitch our Gold the tip to play Tipple. We are going to discard our Harpoon, draw a card, and here is where the fact that we needed to play the Loan Shark, meaning that we had to block with our 2 blues, really screws us up because we only have 1 resource. We cannot actually fire this gold from the Harpoon. So we are just going to, at this point, close the chain, break another gold, look for another Harpoon. We're just scrambling. We find a Tipple, which we're not able to use, and we're just going to pass. We draw into a hand that frankly does not block very well against 5-card Arakni, and we're going to die to this Bonded Agony. I believe what we're supposed to do at this point is just throw 8 in front of this, using Tipple, King Shark Harpoon, and Portside Exchange, but we are just going to pack it in instead. Arakni did have the reactions in hand to get the bond over the top of blocks, but I don't believe I am checking their arsenal. I'd really like to know if we did block 8, do we actually live through the turn? Can Arakni just cut their losses, say, okay, no reactions, and then play another stealth attack from arsenal? I'm not sure. That game was lost because we, for one thing, had very bad variance, drawing 7 non-blues in a row. But at the same time, we didn't handle that situation well. There was a much better way to navigate that if we say, if we draw another red after breaking this gold, we die. Our turn sucks. So we're supposed to take the safe line and just send Conqueror when we are about at parity tempo-wise and have the potential to get ahead if the Conqueror does something impactful. So that kind of lost us the game. That bad variance was compounded by bad decision-making. But more than that, just taking some very risky, suboptimal plays, not using our gold well, noting that we need that gold to load Harpoons. And it doesn't matter how good your hand is if you cannot get a Harpoon into Arsenal. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to hook that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free. It helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. I will be back with more daily FaB gameplay, and until then, take care.